man, it was crazy. Like when I was putting this list together of like what I want to talk about, especially like I looked it up. You were episode 72, and like this episode that we're recording is probably going to be like episode 203 or 204. So it's been like a hot minute
Yeah,
since you've been
yeah.
on.
You've been crushing them, dude. I see them like every time I open Instagram. You've like posted a new episode. I'm like, damn, hell yeah, you're rolling with it, man. And the show, that's so sick, dude. That you're running shows now too.
Oh, dude,
That's so
thank
tight,
you.
man.
Yeah, it was a decent turnout. It was cool just to like kind of get back into booking shows. I had a show in like I kept saying 7 to 8 years, and I think I looked at it. It was like it's almost closer to like 10 years since like I almost booked the show. So it was like dusting those cobwebs off and like having it
Yeah,
decently work out. I was like, okay,
yeah, hell
I
yeah.
think I can do this again.
That's sick, dude. That rocks.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we got that list of questions. I know you just cracked that beer, but do you
Oh
have
yeah, I do.
another one
I
for the opening?
forgot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot that it was a crack post opening crack. Yeah, I have a second one ready to go. I'll crack that
All
one.
right, hell yeah. So what I'll do is, I'll count us down. We'll crack these beers, do a little intro, bring you in, and just have a good time.
Cool. Sounds great, dude.
Hell yeah. All right, in three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down. I get to welcome back a longtime homie from doing this. I'm sitting down with John Russell from Gnawing and Drug Country. How are you doing?
Doing great. Feeling good.
Oh yeah, dude. Uh, like we said before this episode fully got started, like I'm stoked to have you back on. Gnawing's been killing it even since the first time we talked. Since then, like it's been cool. Like you've been seeing all the stuff that I've been posting, but it's also cool to see all the stuff from my end of you that you guys have been posting and
Hell
still
yeah.
going with it. So I'm stoked on both of our journeys of still being here and doing this thing.
Yeah, hell yeah. Cheers to that, man. That's tight. Yeah.
For people that might remember, it's been a while since John's been on. Episode 72 is when John was on last. We were talking about his band Gnawing, based out of. You guys are. Now I'm
Richmond.
blanking. Is it Richmond? That's what I wanted to
Yeah.
say. So it's
Yeah,
good
yeah,
that I
yeah.
was almost there. Based out of
You had
Richmond.
it.
You guys are like this like a prairie rock just indie amalgamation. It showcases through in what we're going to talk about here too. But if anyone wants like a little deep dive into like the beginning of Gnawing, go check out that episode. Unfortunately, it's predates YouTube, so you just got the audio versions since I wasn't doing that fancy stuff back then. But I know when that episode first came out, like we were talking about Germ's Burn had just come
Mm,
out, and the EP like right before it, and since then you guys have been pretty busy. I know last year you guys put out your second full length,
yep.
Modern Survival Techniques. Before we dive into like your what you have currently, like how did it feel to you have two full LPs out now? Like, is that kind of crazy to think of?
Yeah, it is. It's very crazy to think of. Because like we had talked about in the first episode, the that first LP was the first LP I had ever been on. It was the first like full length record I had ever finished and like seen come out. Um, Especially while the band was still active. So that was like having one LP was crazy enough, but to have enough songs and enough fire to make a second one, and like have that like arrive and like be able to like hold both of them and be like, oh my God, we made like two full length records. It was really crazy. And it was the process for that one was so different from the first one. And it was really fun. And it was really like, we rented this like giant historic, I guess it's like it looks like a castle to me, but it's like a manor or something in Amherst, which is like middle of nowhere, Virginia. Like the closest store was like a Family Dollar that we had to drive like 30 minutes to like get like some Big Red and like some Ritz crackers, and we were like, this is our food for the week, I guess. But yeah, we rented this big castle, and our buddy Tim came with us and helped produce it. And Christian, who plays drums, was like, he did all the miking, he set everything up and was like recording everything. So it was a very like in-house, like family, like we would just wake up, record all day, make like a big family dinner, record until like 2 in the morning, get in the hot tub, go to bed, wake up, do it again. It was just like, it was just such a dream compared to the first one, which was like deep COVID, and we were like doing isolated tracking, and we had to have masks, and like had to like follow this protocol. And I love the first one. I think the first one's great, but the second one to me like really sounds like a band. It sounds
Yeah.
like we were playing together, because we were in the same room, and it sounds like we were having fun. Like you can hear us, like there's a couple tracks like before the song ends, you can hear somebody like laughing, and I don't even know what, maybe it was like an overdub or something, but like you can just hear like we were just having fun, and it sounds like a band that's having fun to me.
Hell yeah, dude. Like it's cool that you guys got to experience doing that cuz like in my mind, I know you keep saying Castle and for some reason I keep thinking like Castle Bam. Like like just imagine like being able to rent out a spot like that and just like set up, kind of record when you want, and just spend all the time with like your homies, just kind of going through that. Especially like you said, where the first one was all COVID oriented, so it's like
Yeah,
drastically different.
yeah,
Um, and it's just cool to like have that space to be able to just be like, okay, like we're out in the middle of nowhere, we're not gonna bother anyone, just fucking jam out and like lay down these tracks how we want and just like set it free.
yeah. It was really cool. We like when we rented the Airbnb, I like messaged the host, and it was like, hey, this is what we want to do. Like, if you don't think this is a good fit, like, no worries. We don't have to rent the spot, but like, we want to bring in a bunch of gear and like make a record here. And she was like, yeah, like, there's no noise ordinance in Amherst, and the next neighbor is 10 miles away, so you are good to go. And we were like, perfect, that's great. We no one will hear it then. So yeah, it was really cool. It was really tight to be able to, like it's I think everybody's dream is to have like that kind of like Stones like Exile on Main Street experience where you're all in the same house. There's no outside distraction. Like we're all there. The cell phone service was shit, so it's not like anybody was like FaceTiming. Like we were just like, okay, well we can't use our phones. We might as well just
Right.
like track some more guitars or something. So it was really tight. It was a week of my life that I often look back on, and like that was really rad. That was a really cool time.
Dude, yeah, that sounds amazing. I hope hopefully you guys get to do that again, and hopefully like bands listening, you know, that sparks your interest. Like find a spot like that and just like experience it. Because I have a lot of friends that would go to like one of their family's cabins that's like out in the middle of nowhere and just like use that time to, whether they recorded the whole album there or not, like they would at least like, that's our writing session. We're gonna take a whole week
Yeah,
and like get ready for this EP or album. So it's really cool when like that actually happens, and like I don't know, it's something that I could never do, mainly because like one, I need cell service for the internet, but
yeah.
it'd be weird for me to just go out somewhere and be like, "Yo, guys, I'm remote recording podcast." But definitely something cool to add to like the lore behind that second album.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was, we weren't sure, like, not using like a proper studio. Like we tracked drums like we just moved all the couches out of this like giant living room with really tall ceilings, and we were like, this, I hope this sounds good. And to make those choices and then come back and have what I think is a really great sounding record, and like, it felt very validating to be like, yeah, we know what we're doing, kind of, like
Right.
20 odd years of experience here has not led us wrong. Like it was cool. Yeah, it was really rad. I highly recommend it for bands that are trying to record on the cheap.
Yeah, dude, hell yeah. And then I mean, since then, obviously, Nine, from what we've kind of talked about, and we'll kind of allude to later, is you guys are kind of like in this recording and kind of quiet process as you guys are working for the next releases. But since then, you decided to kind of, you know, which I think this is kind of funny. So you started Nine as like this project that wasn't fully supposed to be a band, and then became its own thing. And now you've started your second solo project to see. So I'm stoked to see where this goes from here. But you started another solo project called Drug Country, and you
Yeah.
have an EP and a new single that we'll talk about. But like, what sparked the idea to be like, okay, I have all these. We're working on gnawing. Or was it just that like it was dead time, dead air, and you were just like, I just have all these things that I still need to get out?
Yeah, it was so like 2023 for us was, the second LP came out. We did this 11-day tour with Fucked Up. We came back from that and played we played a ton of gigs. We played the minor league baseball stadium again. Like we opened for Bully. We like did a bunch of stuff. And so we just had this crazy first half of 2023. And so we like by the time fall and especially winter got around, we were like, you know what, like it's okay for us to kind of take our feet off the gas. It's okay to kind of slow down a little bit. And we had a couple shows still, we've still played almost quarterly, I would say, like since we've decided to kind of slow down a little bit. But we just had kind of slowed down, and I had a bunch of these kind of skeletons of like it was a lot more poppy than, especially with modern survival techniques. We leaned kind of into like a heavier. I keep saying, everybody laughs at me, but I keep saying it was kind of our in utero. It was like our kind of
Mm.
like pissed off, like heavier record. At least for us, it still probably sounds like, people will listen to it and be like, this is very gentle sounding, but for
But
us, it was the
it's
heavier record.
yeah, it's definitely a different sound of gnawing compared to like the EPs and that first LP. There is
Yeah,
that difference leading into it. So I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
definitely. We kind of did, not by any decision or anything like that, but the second record doesn't really have a lot of that like twangy, a lot of that like kind of country stuff to it. We just went more kind of like riffy and like alt rock, I guess. And so I had a lot of ones that were sitting in my voice memos or that I kind of demoed out or something that were a lot poppier and a little bit more twangier, and going back to kind of that first era. Um, and I don't know, I just kind of, as the winter, so our practice space does not have climate control, so winters are usually pretty slow for us anyways because it's miserable to practice when it's like freezing outside. So we were kind of on like a little practice hiatus, and then in like right after Christmas, my wife got COVID, and so we were isolating. We were like, this is a good chance to like I took a week off work. Like I was like, I won't go to the office. We weren't like seeing family or anything like that. Like New Year's, we were just here. Like she was still, I think she was on like day 4 of isolation on New Year's. And I was like, this is a good time to like record some of these. And so I started recording them just to like maybe demo them out and see like, all right, cool. If I flesh this out and it starts to take a cool form, maybe it will be a gnawing song, maybe it'll be something else. And I don't know, they just kind of had like a different spirit to them. They had kind of a different vibe to them. I was like really heavy. I mean, I kind of always am, but I was really heavy into like a Sparkle Horse and like a Granddaddy kind of thing with like the distorted vocals and the like weird like broken toy keyboards and stuff. And it just felt kind of like it had a different vibe than gnawing does. And it definitely, like, I was like, I mean, most of the drums on the first Drug Country EP are just like a drum machine, and I was like, this would be
Mm.
really boring to ask my like very talented drummer to like, yeah, can you just like kind of lock in and just stay on like a like that'd be perfect, man. If you could do no fills, that'd be great. It felt like kind of it felt insulting to ask that of him. So I was like, like maybe it could be cool to have this like thing that I could just, like Gnawing has become a band. It has become very democratic. It is very, it is all 4 of us like giving input and having ideas and having opinions about stuff. And so, I just kind of took that week of isolation, and it was cold, and it just kind of felt like the right vibe to make some like kind of moody, sad, kind of distorted, noisy pop songs. And then we like came out. It was like maybe like mid-January that I kind of started wrapping up on those 5 songs, and was like, this is cool. I feel like I just want to put this out on a tape and like call it something. So I honestly, I don't even remember where I came up with drug country at this point, but I was like, yeah, that's cool. I think, oh, so I had a note in my phone called County Drug because I had, uh, like, I think maybe when we were in Amherst or when I was in the mountains in Virginia, I drove past like a drugstore that was called County Drug. You know, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a good, like, it sounds very Southern to me. It sounds very like Appalachian region. Um, so I like held on to that and I was like, what about like drug country? And so that's, I don't know, it just felt it kind of came together like kind of perfectly like that. So I just put it together and put it on a tape. And here we are.
No, yeah, it's a great name. For the EP that we're talking about, it's called "How to Keep a Band," which I love too because it's kind of like when you think of like the bigger picture, it's like how I mean, obviously you were going through kind of like this. I'm trying to think. I had lost the word isolation by association since your wife had COVID, but at the same time, it's like things that are on your mind still that you kind of want to get out there, and it's like in a weird way, it's like okay, I feel like I need to get these out here to like not necessarily to say like I want to keep gnawing alive, but like it's also at the same time, it's like I need to release these songs in their own way. Um, and get them out there. So I really like the name of the EP too in that sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
it
mean,
was
it was pretty literal. You know, it was kind of like a kind of a reminder of to me of like how to keep a band. You know, like it was kind of like a self help guide of like I needed to get these songs out and we were in a kind of a slow period and you know it was very important to me to just be able to kind of record stuff and like make choices and not have to bounce as much as I do love that collaborative part of like, hey, do you guys like this bridge? Like there was nobody else to bounce that off of. So if I wrote a bridge and was like, this is cool, I'm gonna keep it, then that was like that was the decision, you know, that was it. So yeah, it was kind of a literal I like when I decided on the name and like had the artwork done by my friend Russell, I like sent it to the gnawing chat and was like, does anybody feel slighted? Like I don't mean this in a
right.
weird way. Does this look weird to y'all? And they were all like, no, I totally understand. Like they were like, yeah, like you need like a little side, you know, you need a little thing on the
Yeah.
side. So it was I was like, all right, cool. As long as nobody's like, I don't want anybody to like get the wrong idea or get feelings hurt or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, and then especially like you said, like it's nice to have those moments too, where especially like how gnawing started, and this is not like a knock to anything, obviously, but like how gnawing started, it was just you were the only person that you had to answer to, and now, like you said, now it's since you brought in and it made it this full band, it is a lot more democratic, which is great. But it's
Yeah.
nice also to have those moments of like, I kind of just want this song to kind of just be this way and like not have to tweak it to not necessarily to please anyone, but like it's still your vision. So it's like it's not getting tweaked from like the initial thought to its final fruition. And again, I don't mean that as a knock to anyone. I know it's
Yeah.
very difficult when anyone starts like a solo thing or like brings in a new member. Like you have to get over those hurdles.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I mean, obviously, it shows with the latest LP that you're able to do that. So it's really cool. But it's nice to have those moments too, where you're just like, I just want this to be like my space.
Yeah. Yeah. And it like, you know, it kind of was reinforced by like so like last year when everybody else was busy or if like two people were you know if like not enough people were available to play a show I started doing either like solo sets by myself or like me and Garrett the other guitar player would do these kind of like stripped down renditions of gnawing songs and we would throw some covers in there and that was like I kind of wanted a vehicle to like we would just call it like gnawing stripped down or like gnawing we started calling it diet gnawing which we thought was funny and but it was like you know like maybe I want like a vehicle to like maybe there's a show I want to play that maybe not everybody else is stoked on I can just be like cool yeah let's call this a drug country show and that way it's not like I'm not like you know making the other guys in gnawing like co-sign on some show because it'll say gnawing on the flyer and then people show up and it's just me and Garrett and like one of us has an acoustic guitar and people will be like what is this? Like, this is not like the loud band that I remember the last time I saw
Right.
them at this venue. So it felt like a cool vehicle to just be like, it can be anything and it can be kind of whatever I want to do with it. Which was, yeah, like you said, it's kind of funny because that was gnawing originally was like I was like, yeah, I can do whatever I want with this, and then added people who obviously have like grown up lives and jobs, and other bands and schedules, and so it's like there's only so much we could do, and so then it was drug country was like, cool, I'm back in control again. I'm in the driver's seat again.
Right. I do think it would be kind of funny if you reworked the gnawing logo and just like added diet to like the top corner, and then that way it throws it on the flyers for like those strip down sets.
Yeah,
It'd
yeah.
be like, well, we told you, like the flyer clearly says it's diet gnawing,
It
not
wasn't a
full gnawing.
misrepresentation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We warned you that it was diet.
Right. Um, obviously, like it's kind of funny too. This EP comes out in May of 2020, came out in May of 2024, almost a full year after the LP. Was that somewhat intentional to kind of release it around the same time of year, or did it just like happen that way?
It just kind of happened that way. So I self-recorded it and had never recorded other than like very rudimentary stuff on GarageBand or like voice memos, or like when I was in high school I had like a Tascam like tape machine. I had never done any recording, but us going to the cabin and doing that record ourselves made me like, I was like, oh man, like it like kind of sparked my interest in learning. And so I spent a lot of time at the desk with Christian while we were making that record being like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you doing that? Like what's this, like, you're putting so many mics on a guitar cab, why are you not just putting like 157 in front of me? And so I learned a lot and kind of wanted to continue to learn that way. So I had recorded all of this stuff by myself and was trying to then, from the power of YouTube, was trying to learn how to mix, which is a totally different beast and is not my forte. So I called my friend Alan, who recorded and mixed with us the first record, and was like, "Look, like here's the thing. I like made like a solo EP. I am trying to mix this thing, and I'm in like mixing hell. Like I'm in like purgatory. Like there's like 8 guitars. I don't know how to sort them. I don't know how to like EQ them the right way." And so I gave it to him, and we went like track by track, and it took, because I probably sent it to him in like maybe like mid-March, um, and it took us a decent amount of time to get it like kind of set right. So it came out in May just because we like spent a lot of time mixing all of the unorganized mess that I had made. And then I like sent it off to get duplicated for tapes, and I wanted the tapes to be there in time for the release. So I just kind of kicked the release out as far as I could, um, so that the tapes would be there, and I'd be able to, like if orders came in, I'd be able to like ship them that day instead of like waiting all this time.
Right.
Because if you remember from episode 72, Gnawing got burnt with pre-orders both times the LPs came out. So it was, I was a tender subject for me. I was like, I'm gonna have tapes in hand before I announce any of this stuff. So yeah, it just kind of came out in May just because. But I did realize, like, while I was doing all this promo stuff and like working on release stuff for the tape, one day I was like out to dinner with some friends and like looked at my phone, and like the Facebook memory was like me posting like LP2 is out, and I was like, oh my god, I just like let it float by, like I didn't even think about it. So I felt bad. I felt like I was neglecting my other baby.
I think it's funny that it ties in so close to the LP's release, and it's like we had mentioned, it's called How to Keep It Banned. It's kind of that part like makes me chuckle of just like, okay, it's a year after, and it's like this is like my other cathartic way of like getting this out. Like I needed to release something this year, and it just kind of worked out that way. Um,
Yeah.
but for people that haven't checked it out and are fans of like, uh, you know, not to say like the new Gnawing's not good, but if for fans that are more, for people that are more fans of like that twanginess, this is definitely like a nice EP to kind of get that revitalization back. Because like even I think when we sat down the first time, I missed a lot of that twang and like a lot of what I was listening to, and obviously it was nice getting this EP and like getting that kind of resurgence back in for stuff that
Yeah.
I've been missing out on.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and
Yeah.
it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, I think that like, I mean, and I think we talked about this in the first episode too, that, but like country music and like that sort of twang and that sort of like Southern drawl is so important to me. And being from the South is so important to my identity, and it's done so much for me. And it's something that I hold like very, I'm very like proud of, and like not in like a sketchy proud of the South, but in like the South is really diverse and is really wonderful, and there's like organized labor movements that people just totally ignore and all of that stuff. It felt really cool to, while Gnawing was making this kind of natural, again, like nobody was like no more country songs. We just kind of
Right.
made this natural progression towards more like riffy guitar stuff. It was very nice to be able to be like, okay, like I love country music so much, and this is like hardly, there's still like a lot of like weird noisy guitars and stuff, but even just like having the sort of like Graham Parsons twang back in my voice felt really nice to be able to like kind of express that again.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. Because, like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with, like, progressing and changing a band's sound. Because, like, I always say every release is basically like a chapter in that band's life.
Totally.
Everything changes depending on from EP to EP or EP to LP. So that, I mean, Modern Survival Technique is where you guys are now. And obviously, everything that's happening in the world is reflecting that sound. But it is nice, like you said, to have that like outlet and that root back to country music and like what you love. And I know I talked about this on the first time we chatted about it, but like the thing I love about it is it's not, even though it's like country rooted, you have like this, there's that like this like surfiness undertoned vibe, and I think I even mentioned it in that episode of like this prairie surf rock, and it's just so cool, like how it's integrated, and then like especially with like "Water Me Down," which came the single that came after, the most
Mhm.
recent, like including banjo in that, and just like doing all of that stuff, like it's so cool because you just don't hear it that often a lot in like DIY, or at least like the DIY that we're a part of.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I remember when I was talking with Farseek, like they got banjo in their stuff, and I'm like, no one's fucking doing this. Like this is
Yeah.
amazing to be able to like implement it in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Farseek is a really. I'm glad that you brought up Farseek, because it's, like a couple of times that I've seen them and we played with them once, like watching them like just incorporate like, even like when the band was like a three piece and it was just guitar bass drums, but they were like running a bunch of loops of like other, like it was like maybe found sounds, or it was other like weird instruments and like weird synth stuff that had been pre-recorded to a loop pedal. um I think you sometimes can kind of get the horse blinders on of like, I play guitar, Garrett plays guitar, Chris plays bass, and Christian plays drums. That's what makes it into a song. That's what goes on the record. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we do that very well. But it was fun for like Bird Patterns that's on the Drug Country EP. Like I had this like broken Casio that I got at a thrift store years ago, and then like you have to like put the plug in the right way for it to actually even power on. Like it's like sounds awful, but I like ran it through a bunch of fuzz pedals and stuff and got like the keyboard tone for that song. And I'm not sure. I'm sure that there's probably a place in a Gnawing song where something like that could fit, but it just felt so natural to do that. Or like to have banjo. I don't know that there's a Gnawing song that would require banjo. I don't know that we play the type of thing that would fit and it wouldn't be weird to be
Right.
in. But this was like I had this demo on my phone of that main guitar riff, and was like, there's something missing here that I went through a bunch of overdubs when I was tracking it. Went through a bunch, like tried a bunch of different instruments, pulled the like Casio back out, pulled the 12 string out, was trying to get like what I could hear in my head. And then I asked my friend Trey, like, he's like a huge bluegrass guy. He's very well known in Virginia as like the bluegrass guy. and we come from, he's a punk kid that got really into bluegrass. I'm a punk kid that grew up in country, so we come from different things, but are very united by this. And I was like, yo, like, can you put some banjo on this? I just want to hear like if that's what I'm hearing. And the first like just run through, I think he recorded on his phone. The first run through that he sent me, I was like, that's it. I was like, that's money. Like, can you like mic that up and like re-record exactly what you just played? And he sent me his, I think his first pass through with like, with everything properly mic'd up and stuff is what's on the track. And I was like, that's it. Like, that's exactly what I was hearing that I couldn't figure out what needed to be on there.
I love it because I feel like it's the same way when anyone tries to add like horns to an album. Like you have to do it just right. Where if you make it too prominent, then it becomes like a fully horns album. But if you just layer it just in the right way, it's like it adds that grander effect. And the way that you have the banjo in there, it's like it's not overly in the front, but it's just right in almost like the middle enough where like you hear it and you're like, wait, am I hearing that right? And then you kind of pay attention a little bit more and you're like, okay. And then you kind of go with that rhythm throughout it. And it's just like in the
Yeah.
perfect pocket. And I was like, hell yeah. Like I was at
Yeah.
work today when that song came on and I was like trying to work on something and I was like, wait a minute. What am I hearing? And then like I had to like stop work and just like kind of focus on it and it was like just in that right pocket. I was like, dude, that's fucking tight.
Yeah, that's I'm glad that came across because that's exactly how I want it. I wanted it to be. I always think of it like ear candy. Like you need to have like kind of stuff that comes in and then maybe comes back out that keeps people. You'll hear it in like one headphone but not the other, and you're like, what was that? Like, so yeah, I'm glad me and Alan like kind of, no offense to Trey at all. He played it perfectly, but we're like, let's kind of bury it so that it is just kind of this like people are like, was that a banjo? But then the distorted guitar comes in, you can't really hear it anymore. And
Yep.
then that comes out and you're like, that is a banjo. I thought I knew that. Like I knew I heard a banjo back there.
uh Aside from like banjo and like the Casio system that you were talking about, is there any other like little like hidden things in like this EP or like even Water Me Down that we might not be hearing that we should probably know about?
Yeah, definitely. I tried to water me down. Really the only little ear candy thing is the banjo. But the EP, there's definitely like on the last track, the like mostly acoustic song. I was out in the like last, I guess last summer because they come out in summer, but was out in my backyard with my dog, like, was just hanging out while she was like running around at the end of the night, like letting her get her energy out before we put her to bed. And the crickets were like so loud in my backyard. Like the crickets like sounded crazy. And so that last song is about like my grandpa who passed away when I was in high school. But he lived in South Florida my whole life, or I guess mid Florida. And I had such a heavy association of crickets with like his yard and his and my grandma's yard and being out in the yard with him, like picking oranges off the orange tree and stuff. And so I like, before I'd even written a single note of something that I was going to call drug country, this was midsummer of 2023, was just out in the yard with Polly, my dog, and took my phone out and recorded the crickets because I was like, that just sounds really cool. Like I just want to like have that. And so I recorded this like 3-minute sample of crickets. And then once I tracked that acoustic song, I was like, I don't want it to just like start with acoustic. I want it to like, I want something to kind of build it in. And I was like, what if I just run this like cricket track like throughout what if I just throw this cricket track in the background? So it like begins and then ends with the crickets. Like we like started it, faded it out, and then faded it back in and like got those little crickets at the end of it. So there's stuff like that. There's the broken Casio. There's I like ran a space echo through a bunch of stuff. And so on a couple different songs, I'm just like kind of tweaking the different knobs on a space echo, like getting weird like fluctuations and feedback and stuff. And yeah, I just try to get as weird. I just wanted like an excuse to like put weird stuff on there. Like the song in the middle of the record that's like kind of a slowcore song that has like I'm playing drums with brushes in it. The beginning of it, I on Craigslist, somebody was giving away a violin bow for free. And so I like went and picked it up and was like, oh yeah, I love Led Zeppelin. And so I was like trying to do the like bowed guitar at the beginning of it, you know. It turns out it's way harder than it looks, but I think I got like at least a cool little snippet of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there, and like the flip side of that is like obviously you put this stuff in, but is there anything that you are still like that you haven't gotten in yet that you still kind of want to see like interlaid with like a drug country track? Like obviously we've had a banjo in there, and I'm trying to think of what there's like another bluegrass like guitar. I can't think of the name of it.
Like a
Um,
mandolin.
yeah, a mandolin. Like, is there any thoughts of like trying to incorporate something like that, or any
Yeah,
other
oh,
ideas
for
in?
sure. Yeah, I would love that. I would love to kind of again, this is kind of my project to get weird with it. Trey, who did the tenor banjo on Water Me Down, is actually but on his own words is like an amateur banjo picker, but is like truly like an expert mandolin player. Like he's like incredible. Um, and so I would love to get him to make another guest feature and put some mandolin on there. I kind of have just been I spent most of last year just kind of collecting weird instruments. I bought uh a keyboard. I have no idea how to play an actual working Casio, not this like broken one. I have no idea how to play piano. I'm like learning like basic chords by YouTube. I would love to have a song that is like mostly piano. I'm not there yet, but we're getting there. We're working our way up. My brother gave me a broken lap steel that was in his practice space in North Carolina, and I like put that back together and fixed it and tried to teach myself lap steel. Turns out that's really hard, you know. So we're making slow progress, but yeah, I definitely want to. I think my in my head, my idea with drug country is like, you know, kind of in that same like Mark Linkous, like Spark Orcs kind of way of like finding things that most, you know, technically engineers or mixers or producers would be like, that's a really ugly sounding noise. To find a way to make that sound like running a guitar through an acoustic guitar through a distortion pedal, like, you know, technically speaking, someone's going to be like, that sounds really harsh, that sounds really ugly, but finding a way to make it sound cool and make it work for you, that's kind of my whole goal with this project, is to like take things, you know, like I run distorted vocals through almost all of these songs, and a lot of people very much do not agree with distorting vocals and think it's ugly sounding and think it's unprofessional sounding, but I'm like, it sounds awesome to me, you know, like I love like a crunchy vocal. So just stuff like that. Yeah, I want to keep it weird, keep it strange.
Dude, I'm so stoked to see like what comes next, or like what other things you end up like making into like a drug country songs, and just like try and pinpoint like all the coolness or like random stuff that you add in. Like it's cool that you have like this outlet like aside from gnawing to like just kind of have your full like just catharsis of just like I'm gonna try this and see how it works and see if it feels right and just like go for it. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it feels really nice. It feels very liberating. To my policy with it so far is like try anything, and like if it lands, cool. If it sounds weird, you can always delete the track. You know, you can always take it off.
And then I forget which song it is, um, but there's a song that you have, and correct me if I'm wrong. And when I'm listening to this, you have a feature included on it. Uh, like it's not
Yeah,
just you. There's someone else in there. Like who is that? And I can't remember what song it is.
there's a couple. So on the Drug Country EP, there's a couple different voices. So on the very first song on Wellbutrin Blues, Lexi McCoy from Susie True, who did the backing vocal part on Germs Burn, that's like the part that like people still are like, you know, we'll play a show and we'll play it, and after the show they'll be like, who sings on Germs Burn? Like who's like the like femme voice on Germs Burn? So Lexi's an icon. She's great. She is in the background of that like second verse of Wellbutrin. I like had heard like it sort of like while I was recording it, I heard this like kind of call and response thing, and bless her heart, I called her at like, I mean, it was like 9 p.m. here, so I guess it was only like 6 p.m. in California. But I called her, she picked up the phone, and I was like, "Hey, going in like totally unpracticed, unrehearsed. Like, I just need you to say, like, I'm gonna tell you these phrases to say. I want you to say them. I'm gonna record the speakerphone, and like that's gonna be the vocal track." And she did it in like the first pass, like crushed it. Like, so it's like she like kind of echoes what I'm saying. And that one was really fun. And so then the second track on Bird Patterns, Russell Edling from Golden Apples, who he did the artwork for the tape and everything. Um, I really wanted him to, that song was really me like kind of writing a love letter to Golden Apples. I tried my best to just kind of write a Russell song. And so while we were talking about the artwork, I was like, hey, I also have this song like I would really love you to like do the harmonies on the chorus. So he's doing the harmonies in the chorus, and then the bridge, he I don't know if it was Wikipedia or a book or something, but he had something about like birds and like migration patterns that birds do. And so he's like, we like kind of buried it in the mix, but he's like, there's like this little monologue of him reciting facts about birds in the bridge of that song. So it was really tight. And then I'm trying to think who else. Oh, yeah, on one of the last songs on Karma Laundering, the kind of like Husker Du ripoff song. Um, my wife actually does like doesn't play music, isn't in a band, um, does the backing vocals on the like last choruses of Karma Laundering. And like kind of same thing, like she was like working on something else, like maybe it was like at work, and I was tracking this stuff, and it was like, hey, like come here, like come record this like backing vocal really quick. And she's like, what, like what are you talking about? But she's like really, she's a great singer. She crushes karaoke and stuff, so I knew that she could like sing better than me for sure. So I was like, you just like all you got to do is just like say this like a bunch of times, like just follow me when I say it, you know. So it was really fun to kind of pull in like a bunch of different people, and like it was fun to surprise, like do it by surprise, and just be like, hey, just like jump on this really quick and like do this. And like if it sounds weird, like perfect, that's, I want it to be like kind of unrehearsed, you know, kind of sporadic.
Yeah, it's a definitely a cool way to do it, of just catching people off guard instead of being like, "Hey, can you come in like next week?" or like, "Can you record this?" and like kind of send it to me.
Yeah,
Because it adds more being like rough for this EP than it would be of like, "Hey, sit down, get your mic out, like record this." And like
yeah,
especially with like that first track where you're recording it through a phone call
yeah,
into it,
yeah.
like it's insane, but it's amazing at the same time that that's how that made it in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, I will say I do this. If I have too much time to think about something, I'll start to overthink it, you know? When really a lot of times, especially with music, a lot of times your first instinct is the good, you know, that's the correct instinct. Maybe not all the time, but with stuff like backing vocals, like it's like going like that first take, that's probably gonna be the one, because you're like on your toes. You're like, I don't even know what this song sounds like. Like I'm just going into this thing, you know? Yeah, it was really fun.
Uh, and then let's see what else I got here. Like I know, so obviously the EP came out in May, and like we had talked about prior to the episode, is Water Me Down didn't make it to the EP. Uh, is there a reason like this one became its own single? Like did it? Because I know it definitely doesn't feel like the rest of them. Is that
Mhm.
just kind of why you kind of were like, ah, I'll bank this one and then like put it out later?
Yeah. So I probably should have done my homework on this. I had another voice memo on my phone of like sort of the skeleton of Water Me Down. I had like the chorus where I'm like very quietly like saying the chorus, and had the chords and stuff, but I hadn't really figured out what I wanted to do with it by the time that me and Alan were already mixing the other five for the tape. And so I was like, you know, it doesn't, I don't want to rush it and like put something just to add a sixth song to the tape that I'm not totally happy with. So I was like, I'm just gonna leave it on the back burner. I'll get back to it, you know, once I'm done mixing, mastering, doing the artwork and all this stuff. And so I came back to it, and I realized like kind of what I wanted from it was like a little more kind of boogie, you know, a little more like kind of like Credency or like maybe like Tom Petty kind of like not funk. Funk is the wrong word for it, but just a little more like swampiness, I guess.
Yeah.
And the demo is very like it's me and it's an acoustic guitar and a drum machine. And it's very straight. Like it's just like the chords, I'm just strumming them out, and the drums are just like 2 and 4. You know, it's just locked in. And so I was like kind of messing with it and really looked at it through like a like what would like John Fogerty do or what would like Tom Petty do with this riff. And so that's when I kind of came up with that like sort of like ding 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 ding, ding. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna accent on the kick drum, you know, and like do some palm mutes here. And once I had that figured out, the drum machine just like didn't fit anymore. It was too stiff, it was too locked in. So Christian, the drummer in Gnawing, I called him and was like, hey, like, can you, you know, sometime this week, can you like meet me at the practice space and like, because again, he's, you know, very deep into recording right now. And I was like, literally, all I need you to do is like help me like figure out how I'm miking these drums and just like hit record for me, and I'll track it. You know, like I'll just it's a pocket part. It's not like a hard part or anything. And so we ended up like spending a good amount of time with it and having a lot of fun. But like he, you know, engineered the drum track. I just played it. We took a couple passes at it and got one that we were really happy with. And it added, I think the live drums added the swampiness. It kind of added the stank on it that I was not getting from the drum machine being so like calculatedly perfect, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted a little bit more of the like kind of the pull off and the like, you know, you as a person, as a human being, you just kind of naturally fluctuate, you know. And I've never been very good at playing to a click, so I very much naturally fluctuate. So yeah, just like we got a take we're really happy with, and we like put it all together, and we're like, yeah, this is what it was kind of missing. So it just felt I had it and was like, again with Drug Country, I don't feel any. There's no label involved, there's no PR involved, there's no, you know, nobody's like telling me like, oh, you should like really wait and like compile these all into a bigger release, or like you shouldn't release a single in the middle of July. And so I was just, if I want to put it out, I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, I'll put it out. So yeah, I had finished the song. It's like, cool, it'll come out in July. It'll be a little standalone, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that it's its own standalone, and I also love that you didn't like force it to be on the EP. Like you know, I obviously you've been doing this stuff long enough where you kind of know those moments. But I know some people they would have been like, nah, it's already here. Like we'll do something with it. Like and then at that point they either like force it to be on an EP that it doesn't fully fit with, or they just scrap it all together and they're like, well, we might come back to it. But like
Yeah.
for you to like be like, okay, I'm gonna put this on the shelf for this little bit of time, finish this EP, get it ready to go, and then come back to it, and then be able to kind of like, because even from like the EP to this song, like there's a little bit of growth in there, and it could
Yeah.
just be like with the drum track being like more not like just the automated style, but like there's like that little bit of step where you're already like, oh, okay, like there's already that step in Drug Country where like I'm stoked to see like what's coming next, like if they're gonna keep growing like this.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. It felt different enough that it didn't feel like I was like making a mistake by leaving it off the EP. You know, it felt
Mm-hmm.
like it was like this one's not ready yet. Like I would rather like make sure that it's like at a cool point. And I had, you know, the EP was like really my first time. I say this and it actually wasn't, because the first Gnawing tape was my first time like stepping out and like doing something all by myself. But this EP was like my first time recording stuff. I'll at least say that. You know, it was my first time like recording stuff by myself. And so I think I like it because it documents this, and so I wouldn't change this. But when I listen to the Drug Country EP, like there are definitely my voice is shaky in some parts. There's some parts where you can tell I'm kind of like still figuring out what I'm doing with it. And so it felt cool to like have that like done, put the tape out, already did a release show for it, and then come back to Water Me Down and like really track it and like I think that growth is just me being a little bit more comfortable being like, yeah, this Drug Country is just gonna be like me. You know, it's just gonna be like my
Yeah.
kind of little project. Friends can come in, you know, my best friend's engineering drums on it, my good friend's playing banjo on it, you know, tenor banjo on it. Like it feels like it's just kind of like growing into its own little thing now, you know. So now I've got these two like very separate but both like their own little identity projects now.
It's kind of funny, like again, going back to how gnawing was just your own little project. It's funny that you're like getting back to feeling comfortable playing again, but like now it's just like I have to get comfortable playing by myself again, almost like, and it's
Yeah.
like relearning that, which is like I think that's also kind of funny. And then you bring up the release show with doing the release show. Are you doing just this like acoustic by yourself, or did you bring in some friends to kind of make the drug country sound like full for everyone?
Yeah, so the release show for the tape was just me and I didn't do it fully acoustic. I played a hollow body and had like, I ran the vocals through a pedal so I could get that kind of crunchy vocal that is so heavily featured on the tape. Um and so those first couple drug country shows were just me by myself, which is, again, pretty terrifying to not you get a level of like kind of protection when there's three other people and it's like
Yep.
a massive wall of sound. But when it's just you and like a tiny little, like I have this tiny little combo Music Man combo amp. It's like you and a tiny amp, and you're like, man, everybody can hear everybody can hear my breath, like everybody can hear everything up here.
Yep.
Um, and so then, it's kind of funny because so just recently, like a couple nights ago, I did what I call a drug country family band show. So I did flesh it out and had a couple other friends who have always really wanted to play music with, but didn't have like an excuse to play music with them. Um, I kind of like cherry picked my favorites from the Richmond scene and made like a killer band. It was awesome. But now I've fleshed it out into this like family band, and we're already like in the group chat. We're already like, ah, man, we should do it again. And I'm seeing I'm going down the same. I'm gonna get locked into these band members who have even less flexible. Some of these guys have kids. Like we have even less flexible schedules going on. I'm just gonna do the same thing. So in 2027, look out for another solo project. It's gonna be me and like I'm just gonna be like doing beats. That's it. Just
Yeah.
me and beats.
I love that you call it like the family band, because like you can really just you could, if depending on how this goes, whether you end up making a band with the people that have already been part of it, but you could literally make a revolving door of just like anyone that's available. Like, hey, so and so can't do this show. Can you do this one? Can you play this? And like really make
Yeah.
it like a chance to play with a lot of the homies that you don't get a chance to like be in a band with. Whether that
Yeah.
becomes
Yeah.
a full band or just the rotating lineup. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping it'll keep its flexibility. Ideally, I think that you nailed it. I think I would love for it to be like a chance to play with a lot of different people because Richmond is so big and the scene is so diverse and has so many people who I love hanging out and talking about music with, and like Gnawing has played with their bands all the time and stuff. But there's not really ever an excuse to borrow the bassist from one of my favorite local bands or
Right.
borrow the drummer from a local band, so this is, I hope, is a cool flexible thing where I can kind of like pick and choose. And I'm already like prepping. My wife's been like playing bass in our friend's band lately, and so I've been prepping her like, all right, I'm gonna teach you all these songs, like you're gonna come play bass. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, maybe. So i'm
It's
i'm,
cool.
I'm putting some seeds out there.
Yeah, and it's cool too because like depending on who you bring in, yes, they'll be playing drug country stuff, but they're gonna play it with like almost a little bit of their twist on it too. So like it could almost be a point where every drug country live show is slightly different because of how someone decides to play something, and it just adds to the more like dynamicness of what drug country is trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And like that's, again, you nailed it. That's like right on what I was thinking. Is like I am picking these people because I love the way that they play music. Not because I think that they'll play the music exactly the way I recorded it, but because I want them to play the way that they play, And so like the one time that we've done it so far, like the people that I picked were like Tim, who helped produce Modern Survival Techniques. He played drums, and he is a very different drummer than I am. You know, he's got a way different feel. He's got a way different idea of like kind of what dynamic range is and stuff. Um, and that's I picked him because we do not play drums the same way, you know. And I was like, I want you to. He was like, do you want me to just like listen to the record and like play what the drum machine's playing? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I want you to play. I want you to look at it and be like, if what would I, Tim, play on this song if I was given this to like play as like a session drummer or something, you know? And same for everybody, you know, like my friend Colton that played just 12 string in the family band. I was like, I want you to just play how you would play it. You know, I want you to do your thing on it. So yeah, I hope that as it kind of changes and evolves and has this sort of revolving door policy that people will come in. You know, maybe one show will be like a power trio and we'll just do like everything like really loud and like really, you know, Husker Du style. Or maybe one will be more country and I'll get somebody to play pedal steel. You know, we can kind of rotate it and change it in and out depending on the vibe of the show.
Yeah. For some reason, I had this pop in my head of having someone play a stand-up bass. So hopefully, uh, that would be
That'd be
pretty sick,
awesome. That'd be
right?
fantastic. If I knew somebody that owned a stand-up bass, they would be a permanent fixture in the family band for sure. That'd be awesome.
Uh, no, yeah, I'm so stoked on everything you have going on because like obviously we like we mentioned it's this great outlet, but also you're incorporating people. You're able to play like these live shows, and it's a nice way of if like you said earlier, if the dudes and gnawing can't play a show or they don't like want to play the show because it's not the right show or whatever. Like you have this other opportunity to kind of still go out there and kind of put all this stuff out there. Um, the EP's been out, the single's been out. Obviously, both have only been out at this point of recording like few months made it now. But like what else is in the pipeline for Drug Country?
So I kind of now that I've done an EP and a standalone single, as you are for sure aware with my gnawing output, I'm a sucker for an LP. I love an LP. I love the format of it. I love the idea of creating a sort of bigger scale world where you can kind of expand the drug country cinematic universe. So I would love to. My goal is to kind of not put anything else out for a while and build up a decent amount of a song bank and kind of pick the best, maybe 10 or 11. I would love to do an LP maybe later this year or early next year. Um, and then we've also kind of doing this has kind of freed up brain space for me for gnawing stuff. And so we kind of pick back up, you know, like you had said, with like the recording break, we've kind of picked back up with that and are working on a couple. And so we're trying to figure out if we want to do maybe like like a 2 song 7-inch or something, or if we want to do like a split or something with somebody. But we've got a couple really, really strange for us, you know, like I think that kind of in the same way that Drug Country is my chance to be weird with gnawing. I think at this point we're like we've got 2 LPs, you know, we've done a couple singles outside of those. Like let's keep like what is it gonna be that keeps us engaged in it? What is it gonna be that's gonna keep us interested in it? And you know, we want to try like one of the songs we've been working on is like very like I can't even think of a good comparison, but like Jesus Lizardy or like Piss Jeans, like it's like kind of like noisy and like the guitar part's like really ugly and gross. And we're like, yeah, you know, we're like we'll play it at practice and be like, yeah, like that's tight, like that's really like kind of filthy sounding. Um, so yeah, so we're working on some stuff. Drug Country is gonna kind of build up the song bank a little bit, so it might be a quiet couple months for me as far as like my ADHD of like let's put out another song, but it'll be worth it. It'll be a good investment. You know, it'll be worth the time off.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to when everything starts to drop it and get closer to releases. Like I said earlier, like it's sick seeing you still like and gnawing in general, like still putting stuff out and like doing stuff. Because like it's always one sad moment of like, or not moment, but like aspect of like doing this position that I'm in where I'll sit down, talk with someone, you know, love their band, and then it feels like 6 months down the road, I see like, oh, by the way, like we're not a band anymore, like RIP,
Yeah,
like we're done. Thankfully, out of 204 episodes that I've done, there's the amounts are very low that has happened.
sure.
There are a few, but it's nice to see just everyone keep like pushing and like moving it and like doing stuff and like it's just great to see. And I'm stoked that you guys are still powering through and that you in general are still powering through with not just gnawing but drug country. Like I said, it's everything's sick, so I'm stoked on it.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean those, the other three guys in Gnawing are truly my three best friends. Like, we are like as close as can be. They're like family to me. Um, and I think we all, they two of them, Chris and Christian, started this really sick everything is under like 2 minutes hardcore band called Molt, because both of them like really love hardcore and wanted that outlet. And so in that downtime while I was doing drug country stuff, they were doing Molt stuff, and so it's really nice for everybody to kind of have their thing and just know that like gnawing's not going, we're not, it can be quiet for 6 months and it's not going to change or break up or anything like that. We had that chance to like get all that stuff out and come back to it. And it's like the first time that we all got back into space after a while was like you couldn't even tell. Like we were still just like we would just pick a random song to run through and nail it every time. We had this like really insane musical bond that is not worth like anybody else's like solo project or anything being like, all right, maybe we should like take some time off from this or something. We're
No,
like, no, no, no. We'll if people need some time to like breathe and then come back to it, that's fine. But like yeah, the way that the four of us play together is like, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So we'll keep kicking. We'll kick long enough that people will be like, I wish they would break up.
that'll never happen, for one. But it's also it's cool too because like we mentioned with drug country, it's allowing you to like empty out space in your head to focus on gnawing stuff. So obviously, the guys that are going off and doing molt have to feel like the same. So when you guys come together and like, okay, we've had our releases, we've done molt, we've done drug country, that's kind of there, and it comes back to being gnawing. It's like we have all these ideas that have been filling our brains for gnawing, and we're ready to fucking go. Like I'm just
Yeah,
stoked to see like where that comes from it too, and like also like anything that you pull from like little things that they might pull in from Molt or you pull in from Drug Country of like, hey, like these were working in our songs or like we wanted them to work in our other projects, but we think they'll be better in this and like
yeah,
just build it from there.
yeah.
So like that'll be really sick too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think we're already kind of doing that. Like we've already talked about how the distorted vocals in drug country sound. I think they sound. Everybody thinks they're like that sounds really cool. Let's pull that in. Let's do some really crunchy vocals and gnawing. And I think it makes total sense that like they started a hardcore band and then like the newest gnawing stuff that we've run through is kind of noise rocky, kind of heavier, kind of like Jesus Lizardy. I think it makes sense that they're kind of in that mindset. And of course me and Garrett are like, hell yeah, let's get weird and like heavy. That works for us. So I think
Right.
it definitely is already kind of happening. I'm excited to see like what the new stuff's gonna sound like.
Dude, I'm so stoked. Before we start to transition, I know we've kind of hopped around. We talked, I feel like a lot about the EP, which is great that we did. Is there anything that I might have missed though between you in Drug Country or any of the gnawing stuff that you kind of want the people to know about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, everybody go stream Water Me Down. Go listen to the new song. I'm really proud of it. It feels like kind of a step up in my songwriting catalog. I was really stoked about it. And yeah, for drug country stuff, because I already like very very much have my time occupied by like gnawing social media stuff. I decided to not do any social media for drug country, and instead have been doing like a Substack like email, like I'll do like a monthly, almost sort of like a newsletter, and that has been really cool and really tight to like change it up from like Instagram and Twitter can get kind of like you're like playing the algorithm game. It can get kind of vapid. You know this is like trying to promote your new episodes as they're coming out. It's like don't post it past 10 a.m. on a Tuesday or nobody will see it. And you're like,
Right.
why is that? Why does that matter? Like people follow me, they should see
Yeah.
it, but it's a whole thing. So yeah, I would definitely say if people are interested in keeping up with Drug Country to find the Substack and sub to that. I think it's the last Tuesday of every month. I kind of put my thoughts together of that month and send it out, and it's been getting really cool, like really positive reception, which has been really validating. So yeah, if they want to keep up with if the people want to keep up with Drug Country, that's the way to go.
Dude, that's amazing. Like, it's definitely a different and cooler way of like getting your stuff out there. Like you said, the algorithms are a bitch. For anyone that like, I set my episodes to drop 9 a.m. Central Time every Friday. I don't post about it until 10 a.m. every Friday. Why? Because I get more reception at 10 a.m. on a post than
Yeah,
any other time of the day for whatever fucking reason. It
10
makes
a.m.
no
is like
sense.
the money number for some
Oh
reason.
yeah,
It's insane.
it's
I don't know why.
perfect. Uh, and then
It sucks that we
then
have to know this. It sucks that this
yeah,
is like a thing that is in our brains. Like it
right.
shouldn't matter, but it does. Very much
It's
so.
it's so dumb. And then I think what I need to this is like so like away from like the topic, but like topic of what we're talking about, not topic of the episode, but like um what I think I need to figure out next is like the right because like 10 a.m. is perfect for Instagram, but I got to figure out
Mhm.
that right like Twitter time because like that
Yeah,
one's like fucking hit or miss hard.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Twitter, I have never really understood. Like I'll tweet out like the link to like the new Drug Country song or like the new like when the Gnawing record came out, and it'll get like 5, 10 likes, and I'll be like, cool, all right. And then I'll tweet something stupid like as a Southerner, I love Jimmy Carter, and it'll get like 80 likes. Like, why was that what you guys latched onto? Like, go listen to the music. Like, I don't understand.
I feel, dude,
Twitter's a mystery.
yeah, I feel that every time because like I'll post about an episode and get like, there's been times where I've got no likes posting about an episode. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I post I'll get like high or something, and I'll post the dumbest fucking thing, and yeah, you'll get like 40
And
fucking
that'll
likes, and
pop off. Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, go look at
I
the
don't
stuff that
understand.
actually matter. Like,
Scroll, scroll
I
back, scroll
yeah,
back.
scroll back and find like the band that I'm talking about, but like it's just it's a weird beast. And then Facebook just fucking sucks. So
Yeah.
Instagram is usually where I do pretty decently well. And that's just
The only
pictures. I don't
place
have
you
to fucking say
can.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Truly, you just post the graphic of the episode, and that's kind of the only place that I feel like I can do well, and that's why the Substack feels really cool because it's like every month it gets like a couple more subscribers, and so it has I think I have like 20 subscribers. That's by most people's standards, it's not a lot, but to me, 20 people that choose to like have my words show up in their inbox every month is like that's cool to me. Like that's like
Right.
upward growth that I can track.
And like honestly, theoretically, like that's 20 subscribers since when do you start that? Like before the album came
Like
out, like probably April, May.
yeah, I think this is the one that went out in July was the third newsletter. So yeah, so 3 months ago.
So I mean, like 20 on just the third one. That's pretty fucking good from like a
Yeah,
DIY like standpoint, you know?
yeah, I'll take it. Zero to
Yeah.
20 in 3 months. I'll take it.
Yeah, you know how long it took me to get like a decent traction. Like you're killing it, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, dude. Appreciate it. It means a lot to me, man.
Uh, but we'll talk links as to how people can get added to that subscription here in a little bit. As we start to transition, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking all these episodes because I would definitely do that for you. But I know you have a couple bevs in front of you on this fine Wednesday. What are you drinking tonight?
Because it is peak baseball season, I'm going with a National Bohemian Natty Boh. It just is like I don't. I mean, he's got the Baltimore hat on. I'm a
Yeah.
Yankees fan, but I'll accept it. It just feels like a baseball beer to me, and I've been very like the Yanks are doing good, so I've been watching a bunch of Yankee games. The Flying Squirrels, who are like the minor league team here in Richmond, I've been going to a couple of their games. And I'm going to be in Detroit next week for work, so I've already bought tickets to a Tigers Mariners game. So
Hell yeah.
I'm in a baseball mindset, you know. So Natty Boh just kind of felt like the natural choice.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like, so I mean, this is a complete side note before I get to my beer. Uh, so I live in Minneapolis. I bought it since we've last talked. I bought a house. That's the new space that you see here around
Beautiful,
me.
beautiful.
And I'm like 5, maybe 10 minutes from the Twin Stadium, and I have yet to go to a Twins game. I need to go to a Twins game one of these
You
years.
gotta go. I've
We
heard it's a
also
beautiful ballpark.
dude, it looks gorgeous from all the pictures. And then we also have in St. Paul, the sister city, Twin Cities. We also have the St. Paul Saints. Which I also hear those games are phenomenal. And with those
Cool.
games, you get a chance to see. You might get to see Bill Murray because he used to be a part owner of the team, so he still like shows up
Tight.
every once in a while. But like, I need to get out to some of these fucking baseball games.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
my
yeah,
friends are
truly.
punks and they don't like baseball or heat or sun. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear that. You know, I think there's an argument to baseball being very punk rock, but you know, that's a whole different episode. That'll be a
Yeah,
different episode. We'll do a whole
right.
episode on baseball.
uh, Side question before I get to my beer: have you or would you attempt the 999 challenge?
So I have not, but I definitely would. So Garrett that plays guitar gnawing is also like he played baseball. He's like a diehard baseball fan. His dad's a baseball coach. Like it's like a part of his whole family. So we often go to Squirrels games together, and we went on Dollar Dog night, and we were both like, all right, is this the 999 night? But we had both like come straight from work, and so we were already like exhausted and like eating at work, you know. And so we are like, oh, dude, I think I would just get sick if I did it. So we chickened out. We didn't do it. I think we did like 3 dogs each. But we're gonna do it. I'm gonna knock it out one day. I'm gonna do it.
Okay,
I
you
feel like
you
my
gotta
what's your strategy for 999? Because I feel like mine is like front load it. Like eat as many dogs as you can outright, chug as many beers as you can, and then you've got the rest of the game to like, let's say you get through like 5, then you got the rest of the game to go through like 4 hot dogs, you know.
right, and that's kind of how I feel like it has to be done because like just thinking of like eating a hot dog every inning and just like knowing it's coming is like
Dude.
so brutal. Like I can knock out 9 beers, no fucking problem.
Sure,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's the dogs that are gonna
The dogs will
take you
get you.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Trying
So
to
like the
imagine like every time the inning switches and you're like, oh god, I gotta get another dog. Like it just makes me sick now thinking about it, you know. I think you gotta front load it and just do as
yeah.
many as you can and work through it.
Or what you do is you just get 9 beers to begin with, get super hammered, and then like just you'll just gradually eat 9 hot dogs and you won't
Yeah,
even realize
you
it.
won't even feel the dogs. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That might be the move. That might be the move.
Yeah. I've also heard, since like the regulations got changed in like, baseball where like the games are a lot don't last as long.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more difficult to do the 999
Oh,
challenge compared to like
dude.
5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if we're looking at stats of the 999 challenge, we've got to account for the pitch clock being introduced. You know, I mean
Yeah.
that shortens the game a ton. And ours, I don't know if this is the same everywhere, but like in Richmond at the Squirrel Stadium, the 7th inning stretch is when they like that's last call for beer. So
Ooh.
if you haven't done your 9 by then, you're gonna leave
And
some on the table. You know, you're not gonna be able to
right.
do it. So
MLB needs
there's
to
a
think
lot to
about that.
factor in.
Like we're all trying to do the 999 challenge. We can't do it
Yeah.
if you're cutting us off at 7,
Yeah, yeah. You get 2 more innings. So what are we supposed to do with that? You know?
right? Like, and especially like what if it's like a no hitter and they just keep going and you're like it's ending 12. Like you could have kept
Yeah.
like I had plenty of time.
So much time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I
You
think
know.
they really need to think about that. You know, maybe I'll
Yeah.
use my one good tweet of the week. I'll use that to fire off one to MLB
There
and
you
be
go.
like, hey, you really need to think about the 999
Uh,
challenge.
I got you a retweet. Don't worry.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
signal boost.
uh, and then my beer for this episode after our little baseball rant, which is more baseball than I've talked in like since high school when I played baseball. I loved it. Is in honor of the song "Water Me Down," I figured I'd grab a very watered down beer that was in my fridge. So I'm drinking some Keystone Lights. Uh, you
Beautiful.
know, can't go. I mean, you can go wrong. Uh, So, but yeah, shout out to Keystone.
Yeah, it's done me dirty before. You can definitely go wrong with the Keystone.
Man, so I had a friend come into town and they really love Keystones. And I was like, okay, you're coming to town. I'll at least get you a case. We didn't touch them the entire weekend. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, they flew here. So I was like, I can't send you home with this whole case of
Yeah,
Keystone.
yeah. So now you just got
Like,
a bunch of Keystone in your fridge.
yeah, so I'm just like, fuck. Like, I haven't drank this since literally freshman year of college, and it
Yeah,
tastes exactly the same.
yeah.
Didn't miss it
I, I
at
I
all.
couldn't tell you the last time I had one, but the last time I did have one, it just reminded me of like playing Hey Mister outside of a gas station and getting someone to buy you like the suitcase of Keystones, and you're like, what am I gonna do with 30 of these? But then you're like crushing them because it's just like
Yeah.
water.
Well, so we're getting into the storytelling part of the episodes, if you couldn't tell, which is perfect timing. But
It's
we
my
had one
favorite
guy in
part.
our yeah, we had one guy. I mean, these aren't fully banned stories. These are just, I think we'll see how this goes. But we had one guy on our floor that he had someone from that he knew from his hometown, like old driver's license. So it wasn't technically a fake, but it
Yeah.
looked kind of enough like him where like the liquor store just didn't give a fuck. And then I was our freshman year of college. I was our hall president on our floor, so I got like
Mm,
primo parking outside our building. So I
yeah.
was basically the getaway driver every time. So we would go get cases. We would go like we would all pool our money together. They'd go in there get two cases of 230 racks of Keystones. We'd get back to our dorm. They'd put it in duffel bags so that way like RAs didn't see us. And then instead of going through the front and like taking the elevator up, we would take the side door and walk up
Yeah.
4 flights of stairs. Uh, it was so brutal.
That's
Um,
amazing. That's
yeah,
beautiful. That's incredible.
dedication is what it is.
Yeah, that's great. Everybody had a method, everybody had a way
Yeah,
to get it in there.
but yeah, I remember one time too. Like it was like the first time my parents came to visit, and I had just walked in from like lunch, and they were just sitting in my residence hall, like in the lobby. And they're like, "Hey," or like I just got back from class, and they were like, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "Oh, hey, wasn't like they surprised me out of nowhere,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I went to school 2.5 hours away, and they just showed up,
You're like,
and
let
I
me
was
uh,
like,
let me run up to my room really quick.
yeah, I was like, yeah, let me drop off my book bag real quick, and I'll be right back. And I ran upstairs, dropped off my book bag, and I told my roommate, I was like, yo, my parents are here. We have cans everywhere. You guys just
Clear
get
the
them out of
empties
here.
out.
Yeah. So like my parents take me to lunch. I think they might have like when they dropped me off, might have came upstairs and like kind of just like said hi to my roommate since I hadn't met him yet. And then that was it. Then they kind of like were like left for the day or whatever. And I was like, oh, thank God. And I opened my closet to grab something. They put all the fucking empties in my closet.
It's
I was
just
like,
like
you
wow.
fucking assholes. Like there was just two trash bags full of empties. I was like, man, I you guys drank all like I don't even drink that much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, your
So
clothes smell like beer for the next like 6 months.
right.
Yeah,
Uh,
my sophomore year in the dorms, we did the classic like college thing. Our like dorm room had like this little ledge that went around the whole roof
mm,
or like the whole ceiling. And we did the classic thing where we like put all of our empties and like where it was big enough, we would put like 40s and stuff. And my parents came to like visit. I think it was like maybe it was like right before a holiday because I think they like came to like get me and to like take me back to Raleigh for Christmas break or something, fall break or something. And like I didn't have enough time, and like we like it was like a whole system that we had made to like get them up there. I didn't have enough time to clear them down, so I was like, hopefully they just don't notice. Like, so they came in and I like handed my dad like one of my suitcases, like, yeah, here, take that. Like, all right, let's go. Like, all right, bye. Like, told my roommate Ryan, I was like, all right, see you later, Ryan. Like, took my laptop. I was like, yeah, let's get out of here. Like, just pieced out as quick as we could because it was just like a ceiling lining of like shitty beer cans and like 40s. It was great. I think there was like one Everclear bottle up there, like
of
just
course, yeah.
trash, just filth.
Yeah, I think we would in the 30 racks at the time for Keystone, and I don't know if they still do this because I bought a 15, but which is weird that they sell a 15 pack for one. Uh, but they like the inserts on a 30 rack used to like be Keith Stone. It was that era when like he was like the big mascot.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
those inserts had like different things on them, and we were in a dry dorm, and plus we were all underage. But like
Yeah.
RA would come in there, and all he'd see was just Keith Stone fucking inserts
It's
all
like
around. And
everywhere.
it's like you guys like we're not stupid, but like you guys
You
aren't
got
making
these from
noise. Like
somewhere.
yeah,
Man, I miss Keystone. We didn't know how good we had it back then.
right. He was the best
Those were the
part.
days. He was. He really was.
Uh, but before we take off, I know we've been talking obviously, some beer stories from our past, but I would be remiss if I let you leave without telling if there's any good stories that happened since the last time we spoke back on episode 72. Since then you've kind of done some tours, obviously put out the second LP, but has anything crazy happened since then?
um, for sure, definitely. Um, I'm trying to think of. I'll pick a really good one. So when we were on the fucked up tour, it obviously was like, I mean, for one, it was like the biggest tour that any of us had done, support tour wise. Um, all of us grew up huge fans of the band. Like, to be asked to do it was like we were mind blown. So the first couple dates, I think we were kind of working off some just like general anxiety of like, this is crazy. Like a band that I've listened to since I was 18 asked us to tour with them. So we were working off some stuff. So I would say like the midpoint of the tour is this show in Chicago. It's at Talia Hall, which is this like beautiful like big venue in Chicago. And we we like play our set. Dark Thoughts plays their set, Fucked Up plays their set, and then afterwards we're all just like down in Talia Hall. There's like a network of green rooms. There's like a really small one. We were in there. There's a medium one. Dark Thoughts was always in there, and then there's like a big one that has like showers and all this stuff. And Fucked Up was in that one. And so we go down. Jonah, the drummer of Fucked Up, was like, "Hey, after the gig, we're all like, everybody's invited. We're all gonna party in our green room." And so all of us like go into the green room, the Fucked Up green room, and obviously have had like, we put on our rider, like our rider was like a veggie tray and like a deli meat tray and like a bottle of red wine, like some PBRs, like whatever like
Yeah,
shitty domestic you could find. So I think Chicago was maybe the only date where they fulfilled that. So we had all like crushed this one bottle of red wine and like had whatever PBR. I think it was Milwaukee's Best, which we were like, perfect, that's great.
yeah,
So we crushed some of those. We go into Fucked Up's green room, and there's a guy there. I don't know his name. I don't know who knew him. I don't know why he was there. He was passing around this like old school vaporizer, not like a vape, but like the old like mechanical like vaporizer, and we all like take a hit from it after having had red wine, a couple of beers. And it was just like I've never been so high in my entire life. So we're like finishing the night out there. We close out. We load all our gear out to the van. Our friend that was doing merch with us, Ben, had not been drinking, so he drove us to like the apartment, like the friend's apartment that we were staying at. We get to the apartment, and I'm still just like cooked. Like I like can't, like there's stairs to get to this girl's apartment. Our friend, our Christian, the drummer, it's our friend, it's his friend's apartment, and there's stairs to get up there. And I'm like, I can't even imagine walking upstairs. And so I'm like, you know what, guys, we're in Chicago. I'll sleep in the van and like make sure like nothing gets taken. Like
yeah,
I'm just gonna stay like on the. It feels good to stay on the ground level of something. And everybody's like, "Are you okay? Like you're being really weird." And I was like, "I'm good. I think I need to sleep in the van." So I went and slept in the van, and Garrett, the other guitar player, came down at one point and like slept. Like he was like, "I'm gonna sleep in the van with you too." And so he like got. I was in the driver's seat with it like fully laid back. He got in the passenger seat and laid it back. we Again, we both hit this like crazy like steampunk vaporizer, and we just start quoting Indiana Jones to each other. we just start we literally start with the first line of Last Crusade and just do the whole screenplay. Because we both have seen it so many times, we just do all of Last Crusade. It's just like 4 in the morning, and we're like in this van, like doing Sean Connery accents and stuff. It was just fucking nutty. And so we like finally pass out and fall asleep, and we wake up, and like everybody comes down, is like taking their bags back down to the van and stuff. And they're like, how was it last night? Like both of y'all were like kind of weird, and we're like, it was whatever. We just wanted to sleep with the gear. Like it was fine. It was a normal night. We just like got in the van, like drove to Milwaukee, like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't stayed up all night quoting Indiana Jones to each other.
Oh God.
It was good. So that's my one crazy tour story from that fucked up tour, is just like being so completely stoned that all I could do was think about Indiana Jones.
I don't think I've ever told this story, but I feel like
Here we
it's
go.
only it's only right after that story that I need to tell this one. So back this would have been like almost 10 years ago, maybe a little bit before, but the band that I used to tour with, friends from high school, like our guitar player was getting married, and we had we did went to rehearsal, had the rehearsal dinner, all that fun stuff, and then we were like, okay, we're gonna have like basically the bachelor party tonight at the same time. The plan was, we'll eat at the rehearsal, go back to the house. We had some friends in actually from Richmond that were there, and we are gonna hang out for a while and then go to the casino. Well, you know, we start smoking, and then someone's like, "Oh, let's make a gravity bong." So we make a gravity bong in with the sink. So like we have like the cut like 2 liter bottle, and
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
put it
for
in the
sure.
sink,
Yeah.
and for people that have never done one, that'll get you.
It'll get
Especially
on
like,
top of you. It'll get on top of you real quick.
yeah, and like apparently like I remember I took the last hit, and our buddy that was in town was just like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah," like I could almost tell like, okay, like I'm at that point already, like I'm beyond it. And like he had
Yeah.
even said like, "Oh, that smoke looked a little yellow." Like it was like
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
end where like I just kind of fucking forced it. And like so like everyone's still in the kitchen, and then I at some point, I don't remember, like looking back, I don't remember doing this, but I walked out of their trailer and like walked to the front of it and just like sat down, and someone came out and like found me, and they were like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, the the world was spinning too much that I tried to like brace it, as what my
You tried to
thinking
like
was.
stop it.
Yeah, I tried to stop the world from spinning because it was spinning so much when I was standing up. Uh, and we were supposed to go to the casino that night too afterwards, and
Dude,
I was like,
no.
I can't, like, there's no way I'm gonna make
Yeah.
it. And I just like
With
went
all the
into like
lights
their,
and stuff? No
yeah, there's no
way.
way I would have done it. And like so I just went into like their guest room, which like had like his wife's piano set up and everything, and I just like laid down and was like, I'm just gonna be here when you guys get back. And I remember specifically like it was a, like I don't think I've ever hit that point since. Like I've gotten
Yeah.
close, but I've never hit
Yeah.
like that high of a point. But I remember specifically like our drummer at the time, he was only like 18, maybe 19. He smoked a decent amount, I think, at that point, but like he was trying to like make fun of me for being too high and not being able to go. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, and I thought about this like afterward, after I stopped the world from spinning and like got it rebalanced
Yeah,
for
when you
everybody.
saved the whole world. Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, you went to the casino, but you couldn't even go into the casino. Like, you would have had to just sit in the van anyways. Like, at
yeah.
least I was here comfortably in like a house.
You were laying on the ground.
Yeah, I had two cats walking around. Like, I was chill. I
Yeah,
saved
you
everyone's life.
you came out on top. Don't let him hate on you. You came
Yeah,
out on top on that night. Yeah, yeah.
100%.
Any time that weed has ever done me dirty, it was because it came from a Jeeb. Like that's any of the times that I've ever been like, this is way too much. It was a Jeeb. A Jeeb got on top of me.
Yeah, I haven't done one since. Uh,
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to, but I probably won't at this age. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I think you get to a certain point where you're like, I don't, my constitution can't handle it. Like I won't come back from it.
Yeah,
Like it's like those old stories of like Woodstock, like hippie heads that like don't ever come back from their acid trip. I feel like that's like us in our 30s, like trying to do a Jeep is like, I'll never not be high again.
yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I can't imagine what would happen to me now if I were to try and do like a gravity bong. Like like even now, like we decide, like I still drink a decent amount, but like I can't even imagine like drinking like I used to either. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's hard to get up some days as you get
yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah,
Listen up,
yeah.
kids. Be careful.
Your youth is fleeting. Take
Yeah,
advantage of it.
yeah.
Get good habits in now, because when you're in your 30s and you have like 2 beers, you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I feel awful.
Like I drank three tonight, and I'm gonna. I know
You're
the
gonna be
morning's
feeling
gonna be
it.
terrible, and I'm just gonna be like, ah man, why did I do this on a weeknight? Uh,
You
so
did it for
everyone
the
listening,
pod, man. You did it for the pod.
exactly. It's for the craft. But uh, but but John, like this has been a great time. It's been fun to catch up, and see how you're doing in your life after, like what I say, like 100 and some. I did the math earlier, but it's been a long
Yeah,
time
like
since then.
130 something episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one came out also March 4th of 2022, and now we're recording right now on August 7th of 2024. So it's
Yeah.
been a hot minute. And it's
Yeah.
stoked to. I'm happy we got to do another one of these.
Yeah, me too, man. It was such a pleasure. It was an honor, and it's mirrored right back to you. It's always so exciting to see you like keep doing it and start putting on shows. And every time I see that a new episode is up, I'm always stoked to know that you're still cracking away at it, man. It's tight.
Oh yeah, dude, I appreciate that. Drug Country is sick, and I hope everyone goes out if they haven't already and listen to it. Also, go listen to Gnawing, but obviously this is the Drug Country episode, so got to promote them a little bit more. Um, if anyone's looking for, I know you have tapes or had tapes. If anyone's looking for any more tapes or music for Drug Country, since there's not that social media aspect of it, um, where can they find it? And then also this Substack, how can people be a part of that as well?
Yeah, for sure. So tapes, there are a couple of tapes left. You can get them at the Drug Country Bandcamp, which is drugcountryusa.bandcamp.com. And then the Substack is the same thing, drugcountryusa.substack.com. So pretty easy to remember.
Yeah, nice and easy.
Yeah.
Everyone either go get a tape. Um, you can get digital copies of the EP or the single as well, and go sign up for that mailing list and see what John sends you with his thoughts for
Yeah.
that month. Get that follower count up, get those
Yeah.
subs,
Yeah.
man.
Let's make that rise a little.
Yeah. And then I know, like we kind of talked about, Gnawing is like in this little like hiatus while you guys are kind of like working on new music and stuff. If anyone's still looking for Gnawing in general, because obviously you guys might be playing shows upcoming, where can they find out what's new about Gnawing?
Yeah. So the same thing. I think the easiest is for shows and stuff. The easiest is probably Instagram. It's gnawing with three G's at the end. Gnawing. And then same on Twitter. And yeah, I think that we've got one in September with Cal Marks, who just put out a really great record, or is about to put out a really great record. And we'll probably have a couple more before the end of the year. So definitely get on there if you're in the southeast region and want to keep up with gnawing.
Hell yeah! And I do you still have LPs available if anyone's looking for a vinyl copy?
We do, yeah, we do. We have the last box of the first record of You Freak Me Out. I think we have a handful of those left. And then I would say we have a little bit left of the second one as well. So if anybody's looking for either of them, they're out there.
That's got to be a nice feeling that you're on your last box, you're almost out of You Freak Me Out. Like that's for
Yeah.
one to like to go down that rabbit hole of being like, I think we're gonna do vinyl or do like some sort of physical media, but to like get to a point where you're like, oh shit, like we're almost out. Like
Yeah,
that's enough.
yeah,
That's like enough people gave a shit. Where like we're at this point, which is
yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
It felt really cool. Yeah, I think we have like, I want to say we have like 6 or 7 copies of You Freak Me Out left, and that's insane to me that many people have a copy like in their house in their stack of other records. You know, it's really wild to me. Yeah, it's not lost on me for sure.
Dude, hell yeah. Well, everyone go get a copy of that. Go get a copy of the tape for Drug Country, and be ready for upcoming shows, whether they're Gnawing or Drug Country. And like I normally say, I'm not in the Richmond area. Y'all go out there, experience one of those shows for me in my place. I will live cathartically, not cathartically. I will live. Can't think of the word, but I will live through you to do that. One last big thank you to John for taking the time out of his Wednesday to sit down with me. Like I said, this has been a great time. Drug Country's sick. I'm stoked for future Gnawing and Drug Country, and yeah, uh, doing great, man. I'm stoked on this.
Right back at you, dude. Yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that's gonna end it for this episode, and I'll catch everyone on the next one. See ya.
Later.
With